AEW Dynamite from July the 9th, 2025 was a disaster. It was a waste of 2 hours. Nothing really happened, if we're being honest. This was the go-home show to Saturday's AEW All In, and we will go over the predictions for All In. Hopefully AEW will make it a good one. Hopefully. So, I'm not going to spend too much on the show because the show in of itself was boring and a waste of time. There were a couple of okay things on the show. We kicked the show off with the final face-off between Timeless Toni Storm and Mercedes Mone. The two of them share a toast. So, Mercedes calls Toni a mark. She also promises not to hurt Luther too badly. So, Toni says that Mercedes has the emotional depth of a kiddie pool. She wants to know my bad. She wants to know what Mercedes has to hide going into their match. So Mercedes just basically mocks her. She says that she outclasses Toni in every single way. She said that no one can stop her on the money train, not even Toni Storm. She says this is about her legacy. She calls herself the one-woman revolution, the Alpha and Omega, everything in between. Toni says that legacies don't exist and that we're all going to die. All that matters is one moment that Mercedes looks her in the eye, and she realizes that she fears an ordinary life, but Toni fears an ordinary death, which is good. I really did like that line there from her promo. Toni says that Mercedes does deserve all the titles in the world, but not the AEW Women's Championship. Mercedes will go down as the woman who just couldn't win the big one, according to Toni. Mercedes realizes that they can't be civil about it. So she says this Sunday, she meant to say Saturday, and she says she's going to beat Toni Storm, and then they have one more sip, and then Toni says, eat shit, bitch, and then they have a little brawl, and that was it. So, whatever. I mean, this is fine. This really should be, I would say, the first main event that goes on. I know it's going to be a triple threat main event, more than likely. This should not be the co-main. This should be the first triple threat. The first match that we see from the triple threat main event. Again, I'm serious because the build has been garbage. This build has been utterly garbage. But this was an okay segment, I guess. Whatever, though. It could have been better, but there's nothing that can be done now. Moving on. So, we get a vignette from Jon Moxley. He talks about Hangman Adam Page. He's asking if he can hold the line under pressure of everyone counting on him and all in Texas. He thinks Hangman is a waste, but the Hangman has one chance to prove him wrong. He'd better walk that aisle like it's his last time, because whether he likes it or not, he's all in with this. So that's fine there. I don't care about this. Whatever. Moving on, let's lead us into the first match of the night. Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher, they defeat Brody King and Bandito. Alright, whatever. Who cares, really? Moving on. So, FTR, they're backstage with the Patriarchy. So, Christian Cage and Nick Wayne, they're going to challenge for the AEW World Tag Team Championships at All In. So, I guess most of this stuff probably happened on Collision. So, Christian Cage offers to help out FTR after they win the titles in exchange for help at Collision. And then Stokely Hathaway addresses the fact that FTR were left out of the tag team title match on Saturday, agreeing to Cage's offer only as far as saying, we'll see how Collision goes. Okay, whatever. Who cares about this shit? Moving right along, Ricochet defeats Blake Christian. I don't care about this. And then post-match, the Gates of Agony, they destroy Blake Christian. So Ricochet is basically building his own faction, which is fine. That's cool. He does look like their manager, if we're being honest. So whatever. I mean that's cool, I guess. Maybe he'll add one more person into it. I don't know. Maybe. Do I care about this? No, not really. I really don't. Moving on, there were some shenanigans by Jet Speed. They basically wrote some stuff on the white dry erase board with permanent marker. What are we in? What, first grade, second grade? What the hell? Whatever. It don't matter. So who gives a damn? Then we have the talkie talk from MJF and Mark Briscoe. MJF basically does his usual shtick, where he just makes fun of the person who's been gone, that being Jay Briscoe. So MJF says that Mark Briscoe should have been the one that died in the car accident and not Jay. And then they ended up brawling, and that was it. The Hurt Syndicate, they came out to kind of make the save, and then the Patriarchy and Jet Speed, they beat the shit out of the Hurt Syndicate. I was pissed off about this, but it made sense because Christian Cage and Nick Wayne are involved. And so Bobby Lashley's leg suffered not one, not two, but 3 concertos to his leg, which would indicate they're probably going to lose on Saturday, but I highly doubt it. So, I mean, this is fine, I guess. This makes sense, although this match feels like it could take place on Dynamite, if we're being honest. But whatever. I'm pretty sure behind closed doors, Cedric Alexander is excited that he is with TNA, and he can now be his own man. So, there is that. There's that. So, moving on. This leads us into the Fatal 4-Way for the number 2 spot for the women and the Casino Gauntlet. Megan Bayne, Ty Mello, Queen Amanada, and Tekla. I'm sorry about that. Tekla. So, Megan Bayne wins, and that was it. The match was okay, I guess. I mean, I like Tekla. She's good, but she's been on Collision for a while, She had that awful debut with Jamie Hayter maybe about a month ago. Yeah, basically about a month ago. But, she's been on Collision ever since, and that sucks. But it is what it is, so whatever. So then this leads us into Samoa Joe defeating Wheeler Yuta. I don't care about this. Moving on. Then this leads us into the main event. It was an 8-man all-star tag. The Death Riders and the Young Bucks, Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli versus Hangman and Page, Will Ospreay, Will Hobbs, and Tatsuya Shibata. And basically, Moxley gets the win. He taps out Shibata. I don't care about this shit. Basically, a brawl ensued. The Young Bucks were about to take out Hangman Page. And then we go to the Titantron. And Swerve is on a... he's driving a crane. He's operating... Yeah. So that's what he's operating. And he ends up destroying the awful limousine of the Young Bucks, which looks like total shit. You could probably buy that thing for about maybe, if I had to guess, maybe about $10,000 or less. Maybe like $5,000 or $6,000. That thing looks like total shit. My bad. It was the excavator. An excavator. Okay. So that's cool there. So then basically the brawl ensued. Hangman got the chain. He wrapped it around his hand, about to attack Moxley. My bad. Marina Shafir shows up to make the save. She gets Moxley out of dodge. We go back to the parking lot. The Young Bucks, they're trying to figure out, why did their limo get destroyed? And then Swerve does a swerve stomp, taking out the Young Bucks. And then we go back into the ring, and Hangman and Moxley are just staring each other down, and that was the show. So that's fun there. Do I care about this? No, I don't. Again, this was a waste of time. Let's go ahead and get into the predictions. We have 8 matches on the card. I would assume by the time we get to Saturday, we'll probably get about maybe 10 or 11. I think we'll probably get 3 matches on the pre-show, which will probably be just collision-based shit that happens on Collision. So whatever, that'll probably be what the pre-show. What the pre-show consists of. So Adam Cole versus Kyle Fletcher for the TNT Championship. Kyle Fletcher's going to win. Why not? It's time. Poor Adam Cole. I'm pretty sure deep down in his heart of hearts, he probably wishes that he was back in WWE. I really think he does. I think Adam Cole, if he were to go back to WWE, he probably would get a decent push. I could see him in the mid-card, obviously. I could see him being either U.S. champion or the IC champion. So, I mean, he'd be fine. He would not be the WWE champion or the World Heavyweight champion. But he would definitely be okay in that mid-card. And he probably would be a tag champ of some sort. But that's probably all he would be. But Kyle Fletcher needs to win this, if we're being honest. Kyle Fletcher is okay. He's not awful, but the internet, they love the fuck out of him for whatever reason. So, yeah, there's that. Moving on. The women's casino gauntlet for a future shot at the AEW Women's World Championship. This is kind of hard to pick. I would imagine Britt Baker is going to be involved in this, even though, Tony's kind of put her on the shelf for a while. She probably will show up just to kind of think that, everything's in the clear and all this stuff didn't happen and she don't really want to leave AEW and all that shit. I'm going to go with who wins. I'm going to go with probably Megan Bayne, if we're being honest. That's kind of who Tony Khan is really infatuated with, if we're being truthful to ourselves. So maybe she wins. We might get some surprises in the match as well. Maybe a couple people who got released from NXT. So we could see B. Priestley, maybe, which was the former Blair Davenport. We could see Jakara Jackson in this thing. We could also see maybe Elaine Black, a.k.a. Cora Jade. So maybe that could happen there. Maybe, but I doubt it. But we might get maybe 1 or 2 people involved that used to work for WWE. We could even see the debut of Isla Dawn. So apparently she wants to go to AEW or whatever, or she's in talks with them. That's fine. I mean, if I was her, she would be better in TNA. But whatever. Moving on. Triple threat tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. The Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin versus Jet Speed, which is Kevin Knight, and Speedball Mike Bailey versus the Patriarchy, Christian Cage and Nick Wayne. They are going to want the tag team titles, the father and son tag team titles. I don't think that the Hurt Syndicate will lose here. I would imagine maybe Nick Wayne takes the pin, or it's either going to be somebody from Jet Speed or Nick Wayne from the Patriarchy to take the pin. I just don't see AEW switching the titles off of the Hurt Business. I mean, that would be dumb as fuck. Like, let's just be honest. Why would you even do that? Right? It would just be a total waste of time. I'm going to go with the Hurt Syndicate winning. Moving on, speaking of the Casino Gauntlet, let's talk about the Casino Gauntlet for the men. The winner of that gets a future shot at the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. MJF's in this thing. Mark Briscoe's in this thing. I'm pretty sure Ricochet will be in this thing as well. Probably Shibata, Samoa Joe. I think that Darby Allin is going to end up showing up. He's probably going to be the last participant in the match, obviously. And he'll end up winning. I know Mystico is going to be in this thing, so I do expect for MJF to do something with Mystico. Obviously, MJF is not going to win. They're probably going to end up feuding the Mystico and MJF up until Forbidden Door, which is in August. So that's late August. That's actually my birthday. The day before my birthday. So Forbidden Door will be on the 24th. So that's cool there. On that Sunday. So I'm gonna go with Darby. I know people think that Hangman should win, but we'll talk about that. But I do think that Darby will win the Casino Gauntlet. It makes the most sense. Okay, moving on. Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay versus the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson. As Swerve and Ospreay, if they lose, they can't challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship for a year. If the Young Bucks lose, they'll be stripped of their EVP status. I think the Young Bucks are going to win. I think that we see maybe Gallows and Anderson, maybe they show up. And that's how Swerve and Ospreay lose. Then you can always have Swerve and Ospreay feud with each other. You know, book an angle where Swerve takes out Ospreay. He's gone for maybe like a month or two from television. You could book this thing perfectly. I mean, a year's not a long time, but apparently since All In is going to be in Wembley next year, then yes, I could see that happening where the Young Bucks do win, and I think they are going to win. That makes perfect sense. Swerve turning heel makes perfect sense as well. So I'm going to go with Matt and Nick Jackson winning. All right, let's get into the triple threat main events. Let's start with Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada. Winner take all. It's going to introduce the AEW United Championship. And apparently Tony Khan has decided that even after this match, both the Continental Championship and the International Championship, they're going to be a thing still, which is dumb as absolute shit. Who wins this? I would imagine probably Omega. He has to kind of win, if we're being honest. I know some people think that that Okada should win, but you should just go ahead and just do Kenny and have him win. That would make the most sense, in my opinion. Why wouldn't you go with that angle and go with that move? Clearly, in my opinion, this should be the co-main event. So Kenny Omega is going to win that. Moving on. Toni Storm versus Mercedes Mone for the AEW Women's World Championship. Mercedes Mone is going to win this thing. It makes the most sense. Why wouldn't she? I love Toni Storm. She's great. She's been phenomenal. But Mercedes just needs to go ahead and win this. She could somehow lose all her titles. Obviously, she's not going to appear on all those promotions that she's been at. She's not going to. She might do some stuff at Forbidden Door. But I would be willing to bet money and put money on it that Mercedes is going to walk away the victor in this match. You could always do the rematch at Forbidden Door with Mercedes and Toni Storm and keep the feud going. But Mercedes needs to win this, and then from there, you can have her just vacate the TBS title, and then whatever angles you want to run for the promotions, you know, that she has the championships for, however you want to book that, you can book that however you want to. But Mercedes is going to win that. She's going to be the new AEW Women's Champion. Main event of the evening, Jon Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page. Texas Death match for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. I'm going to say that, and I don't want to be a dickhead here, but I'm going to be, Jon Moxley wins. So there's going to be a shit ton of interferences. We'll probably see the return of Danielson, because he was mentioned on commentary a couple times. We'll probably see the return of Edge, Jay White. So many people will show up, guys from the Death Riders and the Ops and all that. We might even see a return from Pac. I'm pretty sure Gabe Kidd is going to get involved in this match. But Moxley wins. Then, let's say he celebrates, and then Darby Allin immediately comes out. He cashes in. Him and Moxley go about 5-10 minutes, and then Darby ends up winning and defeating Moxley, and he's now the new AEW World Heavyweight Champion. And I think that would make the most sense, instead of just Darby Allin just coming out and staring down Jon Moxley. You cannot take this thing into Wrestle Dream or Forbidden Door. Moxley has to lose the fucking title. He has been an awful champion for months and months. And if he remains champion after All In, you can pretty much say that it's all but done for AEW. And that's why I think that Darby should win. Again, we've already seen Hangman as champion before, so why would we go back to that? So there is that. But Dynamite was trash, and hopefully All In should be pretty decent. But what did you guys think of Dynamite, and what are your predictions for AEW All In? Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.